Their emotions continue to grow stronger. Their silence becomes heavier with every passing moment. The pressure they carry inside keeps building until they reach a point where they cannot avoid the truth anymore. Eventually, they must make a choice. They can finally express what they have been hiding, or they can continue carrying those feelings alone. Stay with me, because what you are about to hear may help explain why this person felt such a strong connection with you, why they have never truly been able to move forward, and why the words they may one day share with you could come from a place much deeper than you ever expected. If this message already feels strangely personal, there may be a reason. Maybe a part of you has felt this connection for a long time. Maybe something inside you has always sensed that there was more happening beneath the surface. The reason behind this type of bond is not simple. It is not ordinary. It is not the kind of experience that people easily forget and move away from. Take a moment and think about this. What if the person who cannot stop thinking about you is not struggling because they do not understand their feelings? What if they are struggling because they understand them too well? What if they have been facing a truth they have spent months or even years trying to avoid? What if your presence changed something inside them so deeply that no amount of distance, silence, or distraction could completely remove it? The strongest connections are often the ones people try hardest to resist. Instead of accepting them, people sometimes spend their energy fighting against them. They try to convince themselves that what they feel is temporary. They tell themselves that time will make it disappear. They believe that staying away will make everything easier, but some connections do not fade simply because someone chooses to ignore them. Many people believe love happens only through chance. They believe it is about perfect timing, physical attraction, chemistry, or random moments that bring two people together. They see relationships as something created by circumstances and ordinary events. But when we look deeper into human emotions, we begin to notice something different. Some people enter our lives and leave a mark that cannot be explained by logic alone. Their presence feels familiar even before we fully understand why. Their words stay with us longer than expected. Their energy creates a feeling that is difficult to describe. Their influence reaches parts of our hearts and minds that normal experiences rarely touch. When someone feels connected to another person beyond simple attraction, it is often because something inside them recognizes something meaningful. Their heart notices something before their mind can explain it. This is one of the greatest mysteries of human connection. Why does one person become impossible to forget when there are billions of people in the world? Why does one voice remain in your thoughts? Why does one person's presence feel comforting even during silence? Why do memories return even after you have tried to move forward? Why does their absence create a space that feels larger than the presence of many other people? The answer often reaches much deeper than what can be seen on the surface. Every person carries hidden parts within themselves. Everyone has quiet dreams, private fears, unanswered questions, and pieces of their personality that are still waiting to be discovered. Throughout life, we often feel drawn toward people who reflect something important that exists within us. This is why some connections feel powerful from the beginning. It is not because the other person is perfect. No person is perfect. It is because their presence awakens something that has been quiet inside us for a long time. They remind us of emotions we forgot existed. They reveal parts of ourselves we stopped paying attention to. They encourage us to look at areas of our lives that we may have ignored. This person was not drawn to you simply because being close to you was easy or convenient. They were drawn to you because your presence affected them in a way they could not simply dismiss. Without even realizing it, you reached parts of them that had been hidden for years. You brought emotions to the surface that they believed they had already controlled. You touched feelings they thought they had moved beyond. The emotional walls they created around themselves began to feel weaker. The protection they depended on no longer worked the same way. Staying distant became harder because something inside them had already changed. That is what makes certain connections different from ordinary experiences. Many people can capture attention. Many people can create temporary excitement. Many people can leave a short memory behind. But very few people inspire deep inner change in someone else without even trying. You became a reflection for this person. You became a mirror that showed them things they had avoided seeing. A mirror does not create something new. It simply reveals what already exists. When this person looked at you, they did not only see who they were at that moment. They also saw the possibility of who they could become. Your kindness showed them the loneliness they had been carrying quietly. Your strength revealed the areas where they still felt uncertain. Your honesty challenged the protective masks they had worn for so long. Your presence reminded them that there was another way to experience life, connection, and emotional closeness. That is one reason forgetting you has never been easy. People often forget temporary excitement. They forget simple conversations. They forget moments that had no deeper meaning, but they rarely forget an experience that awakens something inside their heart. A connection like this is not only about making someone feel good, it is about growth, it is about change, it is about being challenged to become a better version of yourself. The human spirit naturally moves toward experiences that transform it, even when transformation feels uncomfortable, even when growth creates fear, even when change forces people to leave behind the familiar. What makes this even more powerful is that you may not fully understand the impact you had on this person. Often the people who influence us the most never realize how deeply they affected our lives. They are not trying to be unforgettable. They are simply being themselves. They continue living honestly. They carry their own struggles without placing their pain on everyone around them. They experience disappointment without allowing it to destroy their ability to care. They continue moving forward after difficult moments. They continue showing kindness even when life gives them reasons to become cold. In a world where many people hide behind appearances, genuine authenticity becomes something rare. And that is what this person noticed when they saw you. They did not see perfection. They saw something more meaningful. They saw someone who felt real. And perhaps this is where the real story begins. Not with attraction, not with perfect timing, and not because of a simple coincidence. It begins with recognition, a quiet understanding that two lives crossed paths for a reason, and after that moment, neither person could return to exactly who they were before. Recognition does not always arrive through dramatic events or unforgettable words. Sometimes it begins as a feeling that quietly stays, a feeling that refuses to disappear no matter how much someone tries to ignore it. They may try to explain it away. They may tell themselves that it is only a temporary emotion. They may believe that enough time will eventually make it fade. But some feelings do not disappear just because someone chooses not to look at them. That is what has been happening inside this person for a long time. They thought they could move forward without facing what they truly felt. They believed that distance would make things easier. They convinced themselves that silence would create peace. They hoped that avoiding the connection would slowly remove its importance. But instead, something unexpected happened. The more they tried to walk away, the more they noticed what they were leaving behind. Every attempt to distract themselves only worked for a short time before their thoughts returned to you. Every new experience was quietly compared to the moments they shared with you. Every person they met reminded them in some way of the connection they once felt. This is what happens when someone leaves a deep impression on another person's heart. A meaningful connection is not measured only by how often two people communicate. It is not defined only by messages, meetings, or physical closeness. Sometimes the strongest connections are the ones that continue to exist even during silence. They are measured by the way two people change each other. Some people enter our lives and leave without creating any lasting impact. Others arrive and somehow shift something inside us. They change the way we think. They change the way we understand ourselves. They change the way we see love, trust, and emotional connection. That is why your presence has remained with them. Whether they openly admitted it or not, meeting you changed something inside them. You affected the way they viewed relationships. You changed the way they understood vulnerability. You showed them a different way of experiencing closeness and trust. Some of the most important lessons in life do not come from success or achievement. They come from experiences that challenge us. They come from moments that force us to look deeper into ourselves, and sometimes those lessons come through another person. You became one of those important lessons in their life, not because you tried to teach them something, not because you forced them to change, but because the way you treated them quietly showed them possibilities they had stopped believing in. You reminded them that kindness still exists. You showed them that honesty still matters. You helped them understand that strength does not always need to be loud or aggressive. Sometimes the strongest people are the ones who remain patient, the ones who show compassion, the ones who continue being genuine even when nobody is watching. Those qualities are difficult to forget, Many people can create excitement for a short period of time. Many people can bring temporary happiness or attraction, but very few people create a feeling of respect that continues growing with time. Even fewer people inspire someone to become a better version of themselves, and that is what made this connection different. It was never only about romance. It was never only about emotions between two people. It was about growth. It was about two lives meeting at a moment when something inside one person was ready to awaken. Growth is rarely easy. Real growth requires people to face parts of themselves they would rather avoid. It asks them to release old fears. It asks them to question beliefs they have carried for years. It asks them to stop hiding behind excuses that once made them feel protected. That process can feel uncomfortable. Sometimes people mistake discomfort for a sign that they should leave. They believe that if something feels difficult, it must be wrong. But often, discomfort is the first sign that something important is changing. This person experienced that conflict every time they thought about you. One part of them wanted to protect the life they already knew. They wanted things to stay predictable. They wanted to avoid the uncertainty that comes with opening their heart. But another part of them understood something different. Another part of them knew that continuing to stay the same was no longer enough. That inner struggle slowly became impossible to ignore. Over time, they began noticing how often memories of you appeared during normal, everyday moments. They remembered conversations that once seemed simple. They remembered the way they felt when they were around you. They remembered small details they never expected to matter. A certain expression, a certain moment, a certain feeling. These memories stayed alive because they were connected to real emotion. The human mind naturally holds on to experiences that carry deep meaning. That is why some moments remain clear even after many other memories disappear. Without realizing it, you became one of those unforgettable moments in their life. As time passed, something else became impossible to deny. Running away did not create peace. Ignoring their emotions did not create freedom. Pretending they did not care did not change what they truly felt. The emotions remained, the questions remained, and the connection remained. Eventually, every person reaches a point where avoiding the truth becomes more exhausting than accepting it. Maybe this person is getting closer to that moment now. Maybe they are beginning to understand that courage does not mean having no fear. Courage means choosing honesty even when fear is still present. That realization can completely change the way someone sees their situation. Instead of asking themselves how to escape these feelings, they begin asking why these feelings appeared. Instead of wondering how to forget you, they begin wondering why forgetting you has always felt impossible. Instead of focusing only on what could go wrong, they slowly begin imagining what could happen if they finally stopped hiding. This is often where real transformation begins. The strongest relationships are not created because two people never feel afraid. Fear is a natural part of caring deeply. The strongest connections are created when someone decides that being honest is more important than staying comfortable. That decision usually does not happen in one single moment. It develops slowly. It grows through quiet reflection. It grows through difficult questions. It grows through the moments when a person finally becomes honest with themselves. Eventually, there comes a moment when staying silent feels heavier than speaking the truth. When that moment arrives, something inside a person begins to change. The words they once struggled to say become easier to express. The emotions they kept hidden slowly begin coming to the surface. The walls they built for protection start becoming less necessary. This is why this connection never truly disappeared. Even through distance, silence, and uncertainty, something continued to exist beneath the surface. It continued shaping both of your lives in ways that may not have been fully understood at the time, and perhaps you changed because of them too. Perhaps this experience taught you patience. Perhaps it taught you strength. Perhaps it helped you understand your own heart in a deeper way. Perhaps it showed you what you truly deserve and what kind of connection brings peace instead of confusion. Meaningful connections rarely transform only one person. When two lives truly affect each other, both people carry something from that experience. Even if life creates distance for a while, the lessons remain, the memories remain, the growth remains. That is what gives certain connections their lasting power. They remind us that love is not only about feelings, love is also about becoming better. It is about learning to be more honest. It is about becoming more compassionate. It is about understanding ourselves and having the courage to face what we truly feel. In the end, what this person feels goes much deeper than simple attraction. It is appreciation for the way you changed something inside them. It is respect for the person you have always been. It is admiration for the strength you showed without needing attention or recognition. Most importantly, it is the quiet realization that meeting you became one of the moments that shaped their life. Whether they express those feelings tomorrow, months from now, or much later, the truth inside them continues to grow. Some truths become stronger when people try to ignore them. Some emotions become clearer with time instead of disappearing. And some people remain unforgettable because they awaken something within us that was waiting to be discovered. If this connection has survived silence, distance, uncertainty, and unanswered questions, perhaps it was never meant to disappear easily. Perhaps it existed to reveal something important. Perhaps it was meant to show hidden strength. Perhaps it was meant to teach patience. Perhaps it was meant to remind both people that genuine connections are rare and valuable. Life has a strange way of bringing certain people into our world at the exact moments when we need them most. Sometimes we do not understand the reason immediately. Sometimes the meaning only becomes clear after time has passed. Looking back, many people realize that the moments they once considered random were actually turning points. The conversations they almost ignored, the people they almost lost, the experiences they thought meant nothing at the time. Those moments often become the ones that shape who they become. Maybe that is the true meaning behind this story. It was never only about someone developing feelings. It was never only about attraction or timing. It was about two people crossing paths and leaving a permanent mark on each other's lives. And sometimes that is the deepest confession someone can make. Not simply saying that they care, not simply saying that they miss someone, but realizing that because of another person, they became someone they never thought they could become. That kind of connection is rare. That kind of transformation cannot be forced. It cannot be created through pressure or expectation. It happens naturally when two people bring out something meaningful in each other. That is why some people never truly leave our hearts. They remain as reminders of moments when we felt understood. They remain as reminders of the times when someone saw parts of us that others overlooked. They remain as reminders that the deepest connections are not always the loudest ones. Often the most powerful connections are quiet. They grow slowly. They change us silently. They help us become stronger, wiser, and more open to the life that is waiting ahead. Their silence was never always proof that they felt nothing. The distance they created was not always a sign that they stopped caring. Sometimes silence comes from confusion. Sometimes distance comes from fear. Sometimes people step away not because the connection does not matter, but because it matters more than they know how to handle. This person was caught between two different feelings. One part of them wanted to protect themselves. Another part of them could not ignore what was growing inside. They wanted to stay safe, but they also knew they could not run forever from something that felt real. If these words are beginning to make sense, continue listening, because the reason this connection survived all this time goes even deeper. Every time they tried to ignore their feelings, those feelings became harder to dismiss. Every time they convinced themselves they had moved on, something reminded them of you. A familiar place, a meaningful song, a simple memory. A random moment during an ordinary day. Something always seemed to bring you back into their thoughts. That happens because some connections cannot be erased just because someone decides to forget. Some experiences stay with us until we understand their purpose. Some people remain in our hearts because they awaken a part of ourselves that had been hidden for a long time. Until those emotions are faced honestly, the lesson remains incomplete. Maybe this is where the real story begins. It was never only about attraction. It was never only about luck or timing. It began with recognition. It began with the quiet understanding that certain people enter our lives and change the way we see everything. They challenge our old beliefs. They reveal parts of ourselves we ignored. They encourage us to discover emotions we were afraid to experience. And after that kind of discovery, life rarely returns to the way it was before. The distance between two people is sometimes not caused by a lack of feeling. Sometimes it happens because the emotions become too powerful to understand. Many people know how to handle attraction because attraction feels simple. It can remain on the surface. It can feel exciting and easy. But true emotional vulnerability is different. It asks someone to lower the walls they spent years building. It asks them to allow another person to see what exists beneath the image they show the world. Many people learn how to appear confident. They learn how to make others laugh. They learn how to seem strong, successful, and unaffected. They become skilled at showing only the parts of themselves that feel safe, but allowing someone to see the hidden parts is much harder. It means accepting the possibility of being hurt. It means allowing someone to see fears, weaknesses, and old wounds. It means trusting someone with the parts of yourself that you usually